Does the NFL have a domestic violence problem? Is there a spike in domestic violence on Super Bowl Sunday? In today's chapter of the Little Pink Book, we will examine the evidence regarding this feminist claim. Now, the subject of domestic violence and feminism could easily fill many chapters of the Little Pink Book, so in this chapter I will only concentrate on the claims regarding the NFL. Feminist organizations and media outlets are regularly reminding us of the pervasive culture of domestic violence intrinsic to the NFL. They've even claimed that the culture is so influential on the general population that Super Bowl Sunday has the highest incidence of domestic violence out of any day of the year. But what does the evidence say? As far as the Super Bowl claim, this one seems to have just been flat out made up. I couldn't actually track down any evidence supporting it or its source, but in her book, Who Stole Feminism?, Christina Hoff Sommers says she tracked its origin down to a press conference by Californian politician Sheila Kuehl. But of course, the trail stops there, and there's no evidence beyond that to support it. Somehow, just looking at her, I'm not surprised. As far as the claims regarding the culture in the NFL, it turns out crime statistics are public record, especially when you're a celebrity. At NFLarrests.com, we can find a record of all the arrests of the NFL players over the last 18 years. They're even so kind as to provide us with a very user-friendly graph of the arrest rates per crime category. When we look at domestic violence per year, we find that the average rate over the last 18 years is 5 arrests per year. USA Today also provides us with a database for NFL player arrests and criminal categories over the last 18 years. They're even nice enough to provide us with the outcomes when available. From their data, we get a rate of 6 arrests per year. We also find that in almost half of the arrests, the player in question was never found to be guilty of anything. And that in those cases, the NFL still took it upon themselves to punish 1/3 of the innocent players. So how do these rates compare to the general population? According to the Department of Justice statistics over roughly the same period, they find an average rate of 0.9% of women being victimized a year. Making use of feminism's worst enemy, basic math, there are about 50 players per NFL team times 32 teams gives us 1,600 players in the league each year. So 6 incidents per year divided by 1,600 players gives us a rate of 0.4% of players involved in domestic violence per year. Assuming 1 perpetrator per victim, we get that the domestic violence rate in the general population is more than twice the NFL rate. Of course, the feminists will claim that the police statistics are not correct and biased. So let's use their statistics. According to the 2015 National Coalition Against Domestic Violence report, there are over 10 million victims of domestic violence per year. Additionally, they claim that 1/3 of women and 1/4 of men have been victims of domestic violence overall. This works out to about 6 million female victims of domestic violence per year. So let's do the math. In 2015, the female population in the US was about 120 million. So that gives us a rate of 4% of women being victims of domestic violence each year. Compared with the NFL, we find that according to the feminist own statistics, the NFL's rate of domestic violence is 1/10 that of the national average. And remember, this is including the 45% of NFL players who were never found guilty. No matter how you look at it, NFL players are actually exemplary role models compared to the rest of the country. So why are the feminists condemning them when they should be praising them? This is where they reveal their true agenda, which is described in more detail in the first chapter of the Little Pink Book, The Feminist Agenda. You see, feminism wants funding. And their main strategy for obtaining it is to portray men as perpetrators and female as victims. And it's very easy to spread the idea that football players are a bunch of aggressive, violent brutes, which is feminism's foundational claim about men in general and the patriarchy. Plus, the NFL has a lot of money, and feminism loves money. Altogether, this makes the NFL a feminist goldmine for easy funding. If you've enjoyed this chapter in the Little Pink Book, please be sure to like and subscribe. And of course, let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching.